Hi, I hope this is working. Anyway, I decided to start making videos of my days because I have MS. I have multiple sclerosis, a disease of the central nervous system. And I was diagnosed 2 years last January with this monster of a disease, and it actually made me completely paralyzed. I was paralyzed. I have relapsing remitting, but a very, I guess what you would call a very aggressive, well, it hit me very aggressively. I was completely paralyzed on my right side. I couldn't move barely move my hands or my legs. I couldn't hold even a piece of paper between my fingers because I didn't have the strength. And I'm a mommy. I have 2 children, 2 beautiful children. I have a 19-year-old and I have a little 10-year-old. So I needed to get better quick, to get back on my feet and get back to my life. And when I was first diagnosed with MS, I didn't know a thing about the disease. I think in passing I had heard maybe a friend of the family or something like that mentioning at a party or something, oh, I have a friend, she has MS. I thought, I wonder what that is. And I always thought it was something like Jerry's Kids or something like that, something that was completely foreign to a very busy, very active stay-at-home mom, which at the time I was. And I had no clue as to what this disease was. Anyway, I couldn't believe that I had a disease with letters. Anything with the letters is scary to me. Any disease with letters, sends red flags up in your mind. Oh my goodness. And I thought that I had a slipped disc or a nerve, like a nerve issue in my back that just could be cured with a surgery. Was my hope. And when I became completely paralyzed like I was, it just hit me overnight like that. I was sick. I had what I thought was a very severe sinus infection that then at the time I was being treated with antibiotics for and everything, and I was getting sicker, and I just was so weak. The weakness was just so indescribable. But every doctor I went to said, we can't find anything wrong with you. Your blood work and everything's fine. So you just have a really bad sinus infection. Go home and take it easy. So I went home. And I knew something was wrong. But I just couldn't pinpoint, what it was. But I knew in my heart, in my mind, I knew something just was not right with me. And I'll never forget this particular day. My husband was at work, and my children were both out of school, and I needed to go to the restroom, so I got up out of bed, which was extremely difficult, and I remember walking the walls. I'll let you see what my walls look like into the restroom. Sorry if it's like a mess. But I walked, that little shelf there wasn't there. I walked along the wall next to my bed and into this, you see this hallway here, and my restroom is to the left, where you'll see the mirrors there. And I wall walked all the way across into the bathroom. I used the toilet paper roll holder to pull myself up after I used the restroom. And the world was just spinning. I had terrible vertigo, and I suddenly just lost it. I just threw up all over myself standing there. And I remember just using an entire roll of toilet paper just to wipe my face. I didn't even have the strength to go to the sink to wash my hands or anything. All I wanted to do was just get back to that bed. I knew I needed to get back to the bed. The bed that I'm sitting on right now is about I'd say at least, well, I'd say at least 15 inches off the floor. It's a raised, a raised bed. And so I was just trying to get back to the bed. I got to the bed and I thought, oh good, I'm to the bed. And I reached up and I grabbed the blankets to try to pull myself, and that was the last bit of strength I had. I just fell to the floor and I could not move. I couldn't move a muscle. And luckily, I had that comforter, my bed comforter, in my hand at the time. So it was covering my body. And I just laid there until my husband got home from work. Feeling like a fool. Luckily, the television was on, so at least I had something to look up to and watch while I waited all day. So when he came home, we called my internist, my local internist. And he said, look, usually the protocol when something like this happens is to send you immediately to the emergency room, but in your case, I'm going to tell you not to. We live kind of in a rural area, and the little local hospital, he felt, wasn't prepared for someone, I guess, that was in my condition. So he gave us a few options, and we chose one of them, the closest major hospital to us. And my husband, I have bits and pieces of memory of how he got me into the car. I'm not a skinny woman. In fact, I'm also waiting well, we'll get to that later. But anyway, I'm not a skinny woman, and at the time I was even a bit bigger than I am now. So, and he's an average, like 5'7", about 250 pounds. He had to try to figure out how to get me, because from the upstairs we have a split stairway in our home. It comes to a V at the top. And he had to figure out how to get me from the bed to the car. And I just remember him getting down on the floor with me, taking my hands, and scooting, like when you're a kid and you're playing on the carpet and you're scooting along the carpet, and he took my hands and he's like, okay, Teresa, and he's scooting me towards the stairs. And then when we got to the stairs and my legs were dangling over, I had no feeling in my legs, so I didn't know whether they were under me, beside me, wherever they were. And I just remember him taking my ankles and pulling me, and then as I got my rear end to the tip of that stair, him then getting behind me, sort of helping lift me to the next stair. And this went on and on and on and on and on and on until I got to the bottom. And then he had it was awful getting me into the car. That part of it I don't even want to really talk about, because it was probably one of the most humiliating episodes in a young woman's life you can ever imagine. But I finally got in there, and I don't remember the drive to the hospital. I was at that point, I was completely gone. I do remember bits and pieces of being in the hospital when I first got there, and having to wait for hours and hours on a gurney in the hallway, because it was an extremely busy day. I think it was the day after New Year, and so the hospital was jam-packed because all these people that couldn't get in to see their doctor for the holiday all came. And so I was on a gurney in the hallway, and I'll never forget, there's this really wonderful emergency room nurse, kind of took pity on me, I guess, and saw me there, and she knew I couldn't make it to the restroom, and I didn't even know what a catheter was. I'd never had one. Well, I had one maybe when I had a surgery years ago, and I think I had one, but it was only for a short time or whatever, but I didn't even know what that I even needed such a thing. And I guess I was